So think about the money you spent on, the locks for your front door,
Right.
the smart doorbell, maybe the high-definition cameras, or even like a monthly subscription to an alarm system.
Yeah, the whole security package.
Exactly. You have carefully fortified your home against intruders. But what if the most dangerous threat in your house is actually the one you are breathing in right now?
Which is a terrifying thought.
It is. A threat that is legally and, well, mechanically shared with you by the ductwork humming right above your head.
It's a profound shift in perspective, really. I mean, you spend all this time securing the perimeter of your property, completely blind to the fact that the actual environment inside is operating under rules you would never consciously agree to.
And that is the mission for our deep dive today. We're going to completely shatter and then hopefully rebuild your understanding of the space you consider the absolute most private in your life.
Yeah, and we have some really incredible data for this.
We do. We have a fascinating stack of source material to guide us today. We are pulling primarily from a highly provocative piece called Master Insight number 370.
Written by Fuchi Wu.
Right, dated August 13th, 2026. And we are pairing that with a detailed breakdown of what exactly constitutes, quote, air toxins. Okay, let's unpack this. Because the central premise here is just incredibly mind-bending.
It really is.
When you buy a house or sign a lease, you're paying a premium for private walls, a private door, a private bed. But these sources argue that the most vital element of your home, the air, is essentially a shared public utility.
Yeah, we have to start by completely dismantling that visual illusion of privacy, because human beings are, incredibly visual creatures. We inherently trust physical barriers.
Sure, I see a wall, I feel safe.
Exactly. We look at walls indoors and we feel separated from the rest of the world, or even just from other people in our own house. Like if you look at a traditional floor plan, it gives you this comforting sense of geometry.
Right. Nice, neat boxes.
Right. You see the lines designating where people live, where they sleep, where they cook.
I totally know that feeling. I mean, I close my bedroom door at the end of the day, and I feel like I am in my own impenetrable fortress of solitude.
But that is purely a psychological comfort, not a physical reality.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because while we hyper-focus on those solid walls, we completely ignore the airflow. The text introduces this concept called shared indoor air.
Shared indoor air.
Yes. If you were to replace your traditional architectural floor plan with an airflow diagram, those solid lines mapping out your bedroom would virtually disappear.
That is why.
You wouldn't see where people sleep, you would see what they're actually breathing. Because of pressure differentials and the way modern central ventilation is designed, air is constantly being pulled under doors, through cracks, and into return vents.
Wow.
So your walls are basically just a visual suggestion. They are not a biological barrier.
Let me try to put this into a mechanical analogy then. Because of how this shared air circulates, it's not like you are in separate rooms. It's more like tossing all the unique smells, fumes, and chemicals of your house into a giant blender, hitting puree, and then piping that invisible smoothie into every single room.
That is exactly it.
Like, imagine a normal Saturday morning. Someone is in the bathroom, scrubbing the shower tiles with heavy chemical cleaners.
Oh yeah, the heavy bleach stuff.
Right. And someone else is down in the kitchen frying bacon on a gas stove. And maybe you have someone in the master bedroom spraying a heavy cloud of designer perfume.
A very standard weekend scenario.
Yeah. You might have a door that locks, but it's like living in a luxury submarine. You might have your own fancy cabin, but everyone is sharing the exact same recycled bathwater, except that in this case, it's the air. You're all drinking the exact same smoothie.
What's fascinating here is how that blender analogy really captures the sheer equity of the distribution.
Equity, meaning everyone gets an equal share of the garbage.
Exactly. Wu points out in the text that the true shock for homeowners isn't about the energy efficiency of their systems. It's a massive psychological drop-off.
Oh, I bet.
It's this sudden, sinking realization of, wait, what have I been breathing for the last 20 years?
Yeah, that is terrifying.
We build these structures assuming our air is independent, but through shared return ducts, the pollution from the kitchen and the bathroom is collected, mixed, and equitably distributed to the baby's nursery, the home office, and your supposedly private bedroom.
Okay, so if our couches and stoves and bathrooms are constantly pumping out these invisible elements, my next question is, what exactly is in the blender?
Oh, a lot more than you would think.
Because if the air is traveling freely through the home, completely ignoring our walls, we need to know what is traveling with it. And this brings us to a major revelation in the sources, right? The idea that the house itself is alive, and it operates as a constant 24/7 pollution generator.
Yes. The breakdown of air toxins in the source material is exhaustive. It forces us to realize that indoor air pollution is not just, dust bunnies under the bed. We are talking about a highly complex, highly reactive chemical soup.
Okay, let's go through the list. First up from the sources, your decor and furniture.
Right.
Which is crazy to me. The very things you bought to make the house comfortable.
Yeah.
Your plush sofas, your mattress, your plastic storage bins. The text says these are off-gassing, low-level, volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. Things like formaldehyde, benzene, and silicone.
Yeah, it sounds like a chemistry lab.
It really does.
Yeah.
But help me understand the mechanics of this. Why is a solid couch emitting gas?
Well, it comes down to chemical stability. Many of the synthetic adhesives, the foams, and especially the flame retardants used to manufacture modern furniture, they are not perfectly stable at room temperature.
Okay.
The thermal energy in a standard, say, 72-degree living room is enough to slowly break the molecular bonds of these chemicals.
Just normal room temperature breaks them down.
Exactly. So they transition from a solid or liquid state within the couch directly into a gaseous state. That process is called off-gassing.
I always thought that was just the new car smell for a few days.
That's the misconception. It isn't something that happens for a week after you unbox it. They continuously release these toxic molecules into your air for years.
Decades, maybe. That is just deeply unsettling.
And that's just the furniture. Then we move to the kitchen.
Right. The sources explain that cooking, especially frying or using a gas stove, doesn't just make the house smell like food. It generates massive amounts of aerosols, burning byproducts, and ultra-fine particulate matter.
Yes. And we also have to factor in the biological elements. Us. We are not merely passive victims in this environment. We are active biological pollution sources. Every single time we exhale, we release carbon dioxide and moisture.
Plus all the skin we shed, right?
Oh, definitely. We are constantly shedding microscopic skin flakes. And then you add pets to the mix.
Oh.
Yeah, you introduce dander, saliva proteins that dry on their fur and flake off to float in the air, and microscopic urine odors.
You read all that, and your first instinct is, I need to open a window right now.
Which you'd think makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But the sources actually call opening a window an invitation to a 24-hour toxin infiltration war.
Yeah. They don't mince words.
You think you are getting a fresh, purifying breeze, but the air outside is carrying brake dust from the street, acid fog, industrial heavy metals. And the one that really got me, plant pollen, that actually carries attached pesticide particles right into your living room.
Because the outdoor air is a completely different chemical profile, but it is rarely a pure one, especially in urban or suburban environments.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So when you open a window, you aren't really flushing the system. You are just introducing a new army of contaminants to the ones already trapped inside.
Okay, I have to push back here on behalf of everyone listening.
Yeah.
Because I am very proud of how I maintain my home. If I spend my entire weekend aggressively scrubbing the floors with a lemon-scented bleach, and then I plug in a few wall outlet air fresheners, and I light a very expensive lavender-scented candle on the coffee table.
Creating a nice atmosphere.
Exactly. My house looks immaculate, and it smells incredible. Are you telling me I didn't clean my house? I just created a toxic hazard zone?
That is the harsh reality the source material is trying to expose. Clean does not equal safe air.
That is so hard to accept.
I know, but it's a huge, highly marketed cognitive trap. Human noses are incredibly subjective and easily fooled. Your nose is not a chemical mass spectrometer.
Fair point.
If you can smell that lavender candle or the lemon bleach or the fresh linen fabric softener on your clothes, it physically means volatile chemical molecules are wafting through the air, entering your nasal passages and binding to your olfactory receptors.
Wait, so the clean smell is literally just a different flavor of chemical pollution entering my body?
Exactly that. You haven't removed the underlying pollution. You have simply masked the biological odors with artificial chemical compounds.
Oh, wow.
And returning to your blender analogy, your central air system doesn't judge. It doesn't know the difference between a good perfume molecule and a bad benzene molecule.
Blends it all up.
It just sweeps up those volatile chemicals from your heavy weekend cleaning and pumps them relentlessly throughout the entire house.
I'm going to be honest, looking up at my air vent right now, I feel a little sick.
It's a lot to take in.
Which brings us to the delivery mechanism itself. If the house is basically a slow-release chemical facility, how do these toxins get into our lungs so efficiently? The sources lay the blame squarely on the modern central air system.
Specifically, they target what they call the legacy central HVAC plus HEPA recirculation system. In a lot of modern builds, this is integrated with an energy recovery ventilation system.
And according to Wu's text, it has a fatal flaw.
A massive one. These legacy systems are engineering marvels when it comes to thermodynamics. I mean, they are incredibly efficient at moving air, recovering temperature, and keeping your house at a perfect uniform 72 degrees.
Right, which we love.
We do. But mechanically speaking, they are fundamentally incapable of neutralizing chemical toxins.
And here's what gets really interesting, and honestly, pretty gross.
Yeah, buckle up.
The text introduces this concept of the duct graveyard.
The duct graveyard.
You have to picture the hidden network of air ducts running through your ceilings and inside your walls. The air from your home is pulled into these ducts to be cooled. But when warm air hits the cooling coils of your AC, it creates condensation, moisture.
Right.
So now you have a dark, damp, metallic tunnel that is impossible to clean daily. Over the years, dust, cooking oil, aerosols, and that moisture accumulates. Eventually, you get a biofilm. You get mold.
It becomes a long, hidden ecosystem of biological and chemical storage.
Let me make sure I'm grasping the full horror of this.
Yeah.
Are you saying that not only is the HVAC system taking today's new toxins like the lemon bleach I just used and spreading them around, but it is physically dragging that air across years of old, festering garbage trapped in the ductwork?
That is the precise mechanical reality.
Oh my God.
The new volatile chemicals off-gassing in the room are washing over and mixing with the old particulate matter stored in the duct.
So it's compounding the issue.
Yes. The central AC system is not a purifier. It has devolved into a highly efficient, whole-house pollution delivery service. It basically guarantees that every single resident is exposed to the cumulative historical chemical load of the entire household every time the fan kicks on.
But wait a minute. We have filters. I go to the hardware store. I spend good money on those thick pleated HEPA filters. Why aren't those saving us from this delivery service?
Because the source material exposes a massive blind spot in traditional filter technology. HEPA filters were a brilliant invention for a specific mechanical problem, but they are completely obsolete against our modern chemical environment.
How so?
Well, HEPA is designed and strictly tested to target particles that are 0.3 microns and larger, things like heavy dust, pet hair, and large pollen spores.
Which is great for keeping the actual fan motor of the AC clean, I guess. But what about the rest of the chemical soup?
It utterly fails against gaseous VOCs, the off-gassing from your furniture and your scented candles. Because gases aren't particles. They are individual molecules that just slip right through any physical net.
Right, they're too small.
Exactly. Furthermore, HEPA fails against PM 0.1.
PM 0.1 being ultrafine nanoparticles.
Yes. And the text highlights a terrifying physiological fact about PM 0.1. Because these particles are so unimaginably small, they completely bypass your body's natural defenses.
So they don't get trapped in your nose or throat.
Right, they don't get caught in the mucus of your throat or your upper lungs. When you breathe them in, they penetrate all the way deep down into the alveoli.
Okay, let's break that down for us. What exactly are the alveoli?
Think of the alveoli as millions of microscopic balloon-like air sacs at the very end of your lung branches.
Okay.
This is the critical junction where oxygen transfers through an incredibly thin membrane directly into your bloodstream. Because PM 0.1 particles are so small, they don't stop in the lung. They actually cross that membrane.
Into the blood.
Into your blood. They can travel to your heart, cross the blood-brain barrier, and reach your brain.
Wow.
The source explicitly states that these nanoparticles can actually, quote, change cell fate, meaning they physically alter your cellular biology.
And the thick HEPA filter I bought does absolutely nothing to stop them from entering that ductwork.
Nothing. The physics of a legacy system actually work against the filter. The text talks about the lack of a maze structure for something called inertial impaction.
Wait, inertial impaction. Explain that mechanism to me.
Okay, so imagine a heavy speeding truck driving on a tightly winding mountain road.
Right, got the picture.
Because the truck is massive, it has a lot of momentum, a lot of inertia. When the road takes a sharp turn, the truck can't make it. It crashes into the wall.
Right.
That is how traditional filters catch larger particles. The air twists through the fibers, and the large dust particles basically crash into the filter material and stick.
Yeah, okay, I follow that. So what about the nanoparticles?
The nanoparticles are like a tiny, nimble sports car.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. Because they have virtually no mass, they have no inertia. As the air twists and turns through the gaps in the filter, the nanoparticles effortlessly ride the air current, easily navigating the winding road without ever crashing into the fibers.
They just drift right past the wall.
They slip right through, and any static electricity applied to the filters by the manufacturer to try and magnetize those tiny particles, it fails within weeks of installation.
Unbelievable.
Plus, the airflow in a central HVAC system is simply moving too fast for any proper chemical absorption to take place.
This brings us to a really devastating concept introduced in the text. They call it the toxins all-you-can-eat scenario, or a free toxic buffet.
Which is quite the visual.
It is, because think about human behavior. We buy these highly insulated homes equipped with these legacy HVAC blenders, and what do? We lock the place down. We keep all the windows tightly closed.
We seal the envelope of the house to save money on the energy bill.
Yes, we lock the house down to keep the cold air in during the summer or the warm air in during the winter. But by doing that, we are trapping the off-gassing couch, the cooking aerosols, the cleaning chemicals, and the pet dander inside a sealed box. So what does this all mean?
It means we are the last line of defense.
Right. If the machine isn't filtering the gases and the nanoparticles are slipping through and the windows are closed tight, that means my pets and I are the final filters. We are the biological air purifiers for the house.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the tragic irony is really profound here. Humans are voluntarily compromising the single most vital thing for their moment-to-moment survival.
The air?
The air they breathe, just to shave a fraction off their utility bill. The architectural system is designed to conserve energy, but the hidden cost is the chronic, daily chemical exposure of the entire family. Your lungs, your alveoli, and your bloodstream are doing the heavy lifting that the HVAC system is mechanically incapable of doing.
I am officially terrified, and I'm guessing anyone listening is too. Is it totally hopeless for those of us living in these older sealed-up homes? We promise to rebuild your understanding of the home, which means we have to look at the solution highlighted in our sources. How does architecture evolve from here to actually fix this?
Well, the text points to a massive paradigm shift in how we design, build, and ultimately market homes. It describes a necessary transition from the current shared air residence to what it calls the heavenly residence.
Heavenly residence, that is quite the rebrand.
It is a rebrand based on survival, honestly. The argument is that the new standard of high-end real estate, the definition of true luxury, isn't going to be imported marble countertops or smart lighting systems you can control with an app.
Right.
The ultimate luxury of the future is going to be the independent air residence.
Independent air residence. Let's break down exactly how that functions in reality.
In an independent air residence, the airflow is treated with the same strict, isolated plumbing logic as water. Think about it. You don't share wastewater between the kitchen sink and the bathroom shower.
Obviously not.
So in these new homes, wherever air pollution is generated, it is exhausted locally, immediately, and directly to the outside. It never, ever enters a central return duct.
So it never gets to the blender.
Exactly. When you fry bacon in the kitchen, that specific air leaves the house from the kitchen. When you clean the bathroom with bleach, those fumes are exhausted directly out of the bathroom.
Okay, I have to ask the logical question here. If you are constantly blowing my expensive air-conditioned air outside every time I cook or clean, isn't my energy bill going to absolutely skyrocket? How does a heavenly residence actually stay warm in the winter?
That is where modern engineering steps in. You use advanced heat exchangers.
Okay, how does that work?
Imagine two extremely thin metal plates. On one side of the plate, your warm, stale, chemically polluted indoor air is being pushed outside. On the other side of the plate, freezing cold, fresh outdoor air is being pulled inside. The air streams never touch. They never mix.
But the temperature transfers.
Exactly. The thermal energy, the heat, transfers through the metal plate. So the outgoing bad air warms up the incoming fresh air. You keep the heat, but you dump the toxins.
That is brilliant. And on the flip side of this system, purified fresh air is independently pumped into individual living spaces.
Precisely. Your bedroom maintains its own completely isolated, clean microclimate. The air you breathe while you are sleeping is not shared with the kitchen, is not shared with the living room, and it certainly isn't dragged through a 10-year-old dusty duct in the ceiling. The air is truly mechanically private.
You know, it makes you think about all that money and anxiety we spend on home security. We buy deadbolts, we install cameras, we pay for alarms to keep visible threats out of our sanctuary, but we totally ignore securing the home against the invisible threats that we are actively pulling into our lungs every single second of the day.
This raises an important question about how we view property and ownership as a society. Historically, human beings have mastered shelter from the rain, from the cold, and from physical intruders.
The basics of a house, yeah.
We have conquered the tangible elements. But the sources argue that the final frontier of human housing is air ownership. When you buy a house in the near future, you won't just ask the real estate agent about the square footage. You will demand to know if you actually own the air in your bedroom or if you are just renting it from the rest of the house.
It is a complete redefinition of what a home is supposed to do for us. So let's briefly recap the journey we've taken today. We started by breaking down the visual illusion of private walls, realizing that traditional floor plans lie to us about how we actually live and breathe.
We then explored the reality that the home is a living chemical soup, constantly off-gassing VOCs from our furniture, creating aerosols in the kitchen, and generating biological particulate matter.
We looked at the catastrophic mechanical failure of legacy central HVAC and traditional HEPA filters. We learned that the lack of a maze structure allows ultrafine PM 0.1 particles and gaseous chemicals to slip right through, ultimately turning our own alveoli into the house's true filtration system.
All of which points us toward the inevitable, necessary future of architecture. The independent air residence, where true privacy finally includes the air you breathe.
It changes everything about how you look at the four walls around you. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a brand new thought to mull over, building on everything we just discussed.
It's a fun one to think about.
Yeah. Think about the massive trend of open concept floor plans over the last 20 years, ripping out the walls between the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room.
Oh, everyone loves an open concept house.
Right. We've been tearing down walls to create these beautiful, massive, flowing living spaces because they look great on television and in magazines. But knowing what you know now about how air and toxins travel, is the open concept home actually just a giant shared chemical mixing bowl?
It's a scary thought.
Have our architectural aesthetics been directly sabotaging our biological health this whole time?
It is a question that completely changes how you evaluate the very space you live in.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking past the visible illusions, and we will catch you next time.